Hello and welcome to Medyascope. The recent energy discoveries are expected to change the regional dynamics. The main question is whether these changes will create cooperation or increase the conflicts. Joining us from Cyprus is Dr. Charles Ellinas. Mr. Ellinas, welcome to the program.
Thank you. Nice to talk to you.
Mr. Ellinas, energy has become a component which we discuss in almost all debates within the region. Given the background, can you explain to us the relative significance of the discoveries so far?
Obviously, the discoveries in Egypt, in Israel, and in Cyprus show that there is a good potential for substantial gas fields to exist in the East Med. Some of these, more of these, will be in Cyprus EEZ, from which the island can benefit. All indications are strong. That's why we have managed to attract companies like ExxonMobil, Total, and Eni to come and explore in the East Mediterranean. And it holds hopes, but also there are challenges that will be faced, not just political, but also commercial.
I understand. And if we consider the political and economic aspects, how do you consider the change from the start? I recall that from the beginning of the 2000s, this has been an issue which was discussed. And in its initial phases, we were approaching the issue based on predictions. Now, the predictions moved on to reality. And we have some more discoveries in the, for example, Israeli fields. Given these informations, how do you see the future of these discoveries?
Well, as I said before, the prospects are good for more discoveries to be made. As you know, Total is planning to start drilling in Cyprus EEZ next month in Block 11, and the indications for a good discovery there are good. The same applies to plans by ExxonMobil to drill in Block 10. Now, in terms of how does that sit with the political developments, first of all, let's look at the industry, at the gas industry. Irrespective Cyprus problem will progress, the companies that could do drilling and produce oil and gas in that region are the same. They wouldn't be any different. Total, Eni, and ExxonMobil would be the company to explore the East Med with a solution or without a solution. The problem I see is that the whole of the energy sector worldwide moving away from fossil fuels. As a result of the Paris Agreement, there is an increasing penetration of renewables. And the longer we delay developing the gas fields, the more likely it will be that we will never be able to sell the gas. And this is where the problem is. If we stop everything and wait for a solution to come, which may take a few more years, by the time we get a solution, it may be too late for all of us, for both Greek and Turkish Cypriots. So from my point of view, given that the oil companies that do the exploration will be the same now as they will be later, they should be allowed to get on and do the exploration with the knowledge that once a solution is found, anything discovered will be owned both by Greek and Turkish Cypriots, part of the unified Cyprus. The other aspect is that if you make a discovery, it will take many years before you can actually sell gas. And I can give you an example. Say we make discoveries in 2018. It will take the oil companies 2 to 3 years to prepare plans, find buyers for the gas before they start a project. So we will go into 2021 before a project starts. A project will take anywhere between 3 to 4 years to build, which will take us to 24, 25. So we will be able to start exports in 2025. Because the oil companies make the investment for the development of the gas fields, for the first 3 years, they take most of the income to pay for these investments. So it will take another 3 years before Cyprus actually sees any significant income from a discovery made in 2018, which means if we start in 2018, it may be 2027, 2028 before we see income. And therefore, there is ample time to negotiate and resolve the Cyprus problem so that everybody can benefit. Now, if we go away from that and consider delays, every time we delay, it becomes more difficult for all of us. As I said before, the global market for gas, it's not running out of gas. In fact, there is excess gas everywhere. There's too much gas. And nobody is going to sit there and wait for EastMed to develop his gas. The markets will be satisfied. They will buy the gas they need, and we will be left with nothing, with development that will not take place. This is the risk we're running. That's why, from my point of view, the best way forward is to allow the oil companies to proceed with their exploration and plans to sell the gas. And in the meanwhile, work hard to see the negotiations for a solution of the Cyprus problem succeed. And they may not succeed this time in Geneva, but I hope that by next year we'll be in a better position to continue and come to a conclusion.
Do you think the gas explorations are having impacts on the talks?
They are having impacts because everybody has great expectations. On the one hand, the Greek Cypriots are proceeding with the exploration, and the Turkish Cypriots feel that the Greek Cypriots are developing the gas. They will sell it and they will see the benefits and they will see nothing. As I explained before, that is not the case. It will take a long time before any benefits come out. But reality seems to have nothing to do with perceptions. Perceptions of the two sides are very different. Perceptions are that the gas is there, it will be sold, there will be huge profits, and everybody wants to get their hands onto that. That is definitely not the case. There are risks. The market is saturated. Even if we manage to sell the gas, the profits that will be made will not be enormous. They will be reasonable, but not enormous, because gas prices globally are very low, and they will stay low forever due to the ample availability of energy throughout the world and ample quantities of gas, abundant quantities of gas. As a result, prices will be low. As a result, profit margins will be low if we manage to sell. Because the other problem with the EastMed is that because it is deep water, 2,000 meters of water approximately, and because there is no real infrastructure in place, no infrastructure in Cyprus or even Israel, less in Cyprus, a bit more in Israel, it is very expensive to develop gas fields. By the time you develop them and you export the gas, it's difficult to match the prices that prevail in Europe and Asia. In Europe, the price for gas is about $5 per 1,000 cubic feet. If we want to sell to Europe and make a profit, we have to sell at maybe $4 per 1,000 cubic feet. There is no way we can develop, build facilities and export the gas at $4 to get it to Europe at $4. So Europe for us is a closed market. We will not be able to penetrate Europe. The market left for us is Asia. But even in Asia, where the prices are higher, maybe $7.50, then it's a longer distance and shipping costs are higher. But we have a chance. But there is extremely stiff competition. There is a lot of Australian LNG arriving, liquefied natural gas arriving in Asia already. The American LNG is also going mostly to Asia now. And Qatar, which is the biggest exporter up to now, has decided to increase its exports this year. So we have stiff competition and prices will be low. So it's not going to be easy. And anything we do politically to delay or make it problematic will make it less likely that we'll ever sell any gas and we'll ever see any benefits.
I understand. During the last several years, another discussion was made on how the Israeli gas was going to be transferred to any market. And mainly to... Sorry?
Let's talk about that. I mean, Israeli gas is looking for exports, yes.
Yes,
because
and, sorry. And the two main options that were discussed during the period were either through Cyprus, Greece, and Europe, or through Turkey. One of them was economically more feasible. The other one was, at the time, strategically more feasible. But from what you said, I understand that the European market, due to the level of prices, is also not very optimistic for the Israeli gas as well. So the place for the Israeli gas is also the Asian market. I understand that from what you said, right?
That's right, because the pipeline projects that the Israelis have been talking about, both of them, the pipeline to Turkey or the pipeline to Europe, are commercially not viable. Turkey, after downing the Russian plane, was desperately looking for alternative supply of gas. It no longer is. Turkey now has more Russian gas coming. Turkish stream is actually started being built earlier this month, bringing vast quantities of gas to Turkey, cheap gas at $5. TANAP is bringing gas from Azerbaijan. Turkey also has changed its energy strategy. They have moved away from gas as far as possible, and they're using now more coal, lignite, hydroelectric energy, nuclear, and as a result, and renewable. As a result, their dependence on gas has gone down. In fact, if anything, during the last 3 years, the amounts of gas that Turkey imported have actually gone down. So they do not need the Israeli gas. But to get the Israeli gas to Turkey and sell it, prices must be between $6 and $7 before it becomes commercially viable. Prices in Turkey now are $5. So how can you sell Israeli gas to Turkey? You can't. The same applies to Israeli pipeline through Cyprus, through Greece to Europe. It's even more difficult. Commercially, it's not difficult. It's very, and nobody buys gas because of other reasons other than price. I was at a conference in Istanbul a few months ago, and when specifically asked the Turkish Secretary for Energy what is the driver for Turkey buying gas, he said only one thing. He said price, as cheap as possible. If you get it to us cheap, we'll buy it. If not, no. So the Israeli gas is not going to Turkey. It's not going to Europe. If they start looking at ways of liquefying the gas and exporting it to Asia, maybe they will stand a chance. So far, they have not done that. So Israel has a problem.
Yeah. And meanwhile, Israel is having meetings with Greece and Cyprus as well. These meetings have no meaning?
These meetings are political meetings. They are even supported by the European Union, as you know. They're even supported by Italy.
Yes.
But the reality is that the European Union does not build pipelines, does not invest money in pipelines. Pipelines are being built by commercial companies for profit. And even though politically these countries and the European Union support this pipeline and would like to see it built, they will not build it themselves. No company will undertake the building of the pipeline until it becomes commercially viable. So it's good meetings, discussions. Politically, they help the countries cooperate. but in terms of practicality and pipelines, they're not going to arrive anywhere.
And based on your knowledge, where can Israel build the LNG hub?
Well, Israel has been trying to, first of all, they tried to export to bring the gas to Cyprus and build an LNG plant at Vasilikos and export it with Cypriot gas from there to global markets. They tried that until about 2013. They were trying hard to do that, but it didn't work out. The Greek Cypriots were late, were slow in responding to that. By the time they were ready to respond, the opportunity went away. After that, Israel started looking at exporting the gas to Egypt for liquefaction in Egypt and export from there to international markets. But there are challenges there because, first of all, there are political problems. The majority of the Egyptian population does not want to see Israeli gas coming to Egypt. And the second is that there is a dispute between Israel and Egypt. I don't know if you're aware, but the International Court of Arbitration found against Israel for stopping, against Egypt for stopping supplies of gas to Israel when Mubarak was there, and fined the Egyptians $2 billion to pay to Israel, which Egypt does not recognize and does not want to pay. As a result, there is a dispute about that which stops anything from happening. And then there are the commercial implications, because, again, to take the gas from Israel, to take it by pipeline to Egypt, to liquefy it and export it, it makes it expensive, and therefore it's not easy, it's challenging. As a result, Israel has been left with very few options. One option is to go back to something they considered a few years ago, which is floating liquefaction, to build ships on which the liquefaction takes place, and the LNG is exported from the ship to the markets. It's called FLNG, floating LNG. That is an option they can revisit again, but at the moment they're not looking into that.
And the international actors, for instance, the European Union. Back several years ago, there was a discussion that Europe wanted the Eastern Mediterranean gas as an alternative to the Russian gas. But based on the global markets right now, and as you said, the prices are very low and they're expected to stay low, it doesn't seem feasible right now. So,
no, it does. And as an example, the Americans are trying to export LNG to Europe. And as you know, politically, the Americans are very welcome. They prefer American LNG in Europe than Russian. But because American LNG, even though it's very cheap, it cannot compete with Russian gas, it's finding it difficult to find markets in Europe. For EastMed, it will be even more difficult because it's more expensive. As a result, Europe actually succeeded in its policies. Europe introduced a unit, and through that forced Gazprom to comply with European regulations, to comply with European gas trading systems, and Gazprom now sells gas to Europe fully in compliance with European systems. Plentiful gas, very cheap gas. There is no reason for Europe anymore to look for very active diversification. Gazprom has vast resources. In fact, they can supply Europe, even within a few months, another 100 billion cubic meters of gas per year because it's there, waiting to be exported at prices which nobody else can match.
Okay, so the arguments that the European Union also wants a settlement in Cyprus due to the possibility of receiving gas is not valid.
Well, that was never the case. The European Union never said they want a settlement because they need the gas from Cyprus. First of all, Cyprus is small quantities. It really makes very little difference whether it goes to Europe or not. The amounts of gas Europe uses about 450 billion cubic meters of gas per year. if Cyprus can send 10, what difference would it make? 10 among 450 is a small number. So Europe never said they wanted settlement for the sake of accessing gas. They said they preferred that gas is developed in the region for the benefit of the kept in the region if possible, and used in the region if possible. Their interest in Cyprus is, first of all, Cyprus is a member of the European Union, and they want a solution to the problem to remove one obstacle for Europe. And the second is that they would like to see the whole of this Med reach peaceful settlement to all of its problems. Europe is doing the best it can to help sort these problems out. That's where their interest is, not in getting the gas, but using the gas to help the regions develop themselves.
Okay, and how is the new U.S. policy affecting the Eastern Mediterranean gas flows?
So the new U.S. policy?
Yeah.
Well, there is no new U.S. policy about East Mediterranean. The previous administration had an undersecretary responsible for the region, Amos Hochstein. Amos has gone and has not been replaced, so there is no proper policy by the United States for the region. The United States is supporting Cyprus' plans to carry on drilling. Of course, there are two American companies there. There is Noble and ExxonMobil. They're supporting that, but at the same time, they are strongly supporting the path to a solution. So they would like to see a solution to the Cyprus problem, while they're supporting ExxonMobil continuing with its own plans. They are trying to help resolve the problems between Lebanon and Israel. They're trying to make sure that Egypt and Israel improve their relationship and so on. But there is not a single person now in the new administration concentrating on the region, and that makes it a bit more difficult. Okay,
one final point. As you said, the talks once again started today.
Yeah.
From your comments, I understand that you're not expecting anything different during these talks, but you're expecting something in the near future.
Yes, I'm hoping that the discussions will progress to the point of at least agreeing the areas which can be agreed and leaving Geneva with a better position between Greek and Turkish Cypriots than they were a few months ago, building the base from which to restart negotiations in the near future and take them further. The good thing is that so far it seems that there is progress on various fronts. However, there are still significant differences. I'm also sure that these differences can be bridged during these discussions in Geneva. What I hope that doesn't happen is to break the discussions without a positive outcome, not a solution, but a positive outcome to take it forward. If the discussions end up at loggerheads with problems, it will be bad for all of us. I'm looking to a positive outcome and a continuation of the discussions in future.
Okay. Thank you very much, Mr. Ellinas.
Thank you.
Goodbye.
Bye.
Today we talked about the regional developments regarding the energy discoveries. Thank you for watching us.